Hi guys, Squaller here, and welcome to episode 3, I think we're on, of my realistic playthrough on Derail Valley. This is B99 version. I've installed one extra mod since the first 2 episodes, which I'll show you in a second. Just to recap where we are, we have 74,000 in the bank. We just delivered a job to the goods factory, and it's all handed in and unloaded. In terms of the next steps, there's a nice job. There's 2 nice jobs that I've got my eye on here. So one of them is here, which goes to the machine factory. And you may notice a little bit of extra information that's not normally there in the game. So where it says machine factory in town /C4I, that means this job is going to C4I at the machine factory. And the goods factory there is coming from D2O. So basically this mod, which is called... let me just double check. It's called Improved Job Overview. That's it. So I've got Booklet Organizer, which organizes the booklets. I've got Not Enough Gadgets, which that was for a Twitch playthrough, so don't worry about that. The one that I've just installed is Improved Job Overview, which gives us some extra information on the jobs. So you can see where the cars are, where they're going to, that kind of thing. Now, some of you may consider that to be not realistic. I consider that to be extra information which a dispatcher would probably give you anyway, so I'm happy to use it, but your mileage may vary. Anyway, so in terms of what we want to do next, I want to take this job here to the machine factory, but this is a fragile job, which means we'd have to buy the fragile license. And on the way, if you look, there's one here, which goes to City West. That particular job is a shunting job, but because it's a pick up and load, it would generate another job to City West. And if you have a look at our map, City West is actually en route to the machine factory. We're up here in the goods factory. Machine factory's here, and City West is on the way. So we're going to be going past it basically. So I'm thinking I'm going to quickly do this job, which will pay us about 20 odd grand, and it will generate another job to City West. And then I can talk through the licenses with you, and we'll crack on. So, I'm going to quickly do this, and then I'll pick it up and explain the license purchases. Right, so as per the job spec, I've assembled the cars here into the loading yard, which is B1L. However, I need to go and hand the job in, but this is a job that has a license requirement of fragile, so... before I can actually start this job and load everything on the back, I'm going to have to buy the fragile license. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to clear my fees. So let's quickly have a look at what we're dealing with. So we have $4,000 fees at the moment on that car, on that locomotive, sorry. We only need to pay the first 100. That's about to change, though. There we go. So we've cleared that. And if we have a look at our fragile license, you'll see that what's going to happen when we buy this is $10,000, but our copay is going to go up by $2,000. So no more $100 repair bills for us, unfortunately. But, we'll get it back. We'll get it back. If we go to fees now, it'll probably tell us... yeah, it doesn't show us, but it'll say up here now $2,100 is our minimum that we need to spend. So the trick now is to rack up the fees before you actually clear them, because you're going to have to pay the first $2,000 anyway. And the way you do that is more or less by using various locomotives around the yard, which is a little trick that I'll show you. Anyway, so we've handed the job in now. The delivery order is to pick those things up, load them into B1L, and then take them to D7O. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll hand the job in and get some cash. Train is in range. We'll load that. There we go. And then we'll go and drop it off. Now, if you notice on the way into D7O here, there's 2 more locomotives there. That's a DE2, another one, and that's a DM3. I think I might take one of these DE2s. I shall explain in a second. Right, job done. There we go. That should be a nice, easy $21,000, which brings our total up to $85,500. And we've got some fees of 500 left on that locomotive. Now, that's generated this job here. So we can just put that there to one side for a second. Is there anything else that we want to take? No. So we've got our main job, which is this one. And I'm just going to move these out the way a second. So these are the two jobs that I want to take. Both of them are fragile. One goes to the machine factory in town, and the other one goes to City West. So now we need to think about the order that we're dropping things off in, as well as to buy the licenses. So we're going to go to machine factory in town, but beforehand we're going to drop at City West. Remember, we're coming from the goods factory. We're going to go through the steel mill, through the farm, through Orwell Central, drop at City West, and then drop at machine factory. So what I like to do is I like to pretend my locomotive is here on the left, and then I line up the jobs in the order that I want to take them. Now, obviously in this example we've only got two, but when we're doing bigger jobs, this will become very important, getting the drop order correct. So if my train is here, the next thing I want to have on the back of the train, or the locomotive, is this one, because this is my final drop. Then I want to have that one. So that one's hanging off the back of the train because we're going to drop that one first. That makes sense. Now, in order to take these two, I need to have a license which allows me to do so. Let me just clear these fees off a second. Okay. And then we go to licenses, and what we need is this one. It's the concurrent order 1. This will allow us to do two orders at the same time. Removes the rear rail discount. So there's substantial penalties that come with this. It's a $4,000 extra copay on top of the $2,100 that we already have. That brings us up to $6,100 we're going to have to pay on all of our locomotive fees. So there is a price to pay, as well as the 10 grand that it's going to cost us to get this. But, you know, I think it's worth having, because if we grab it, confirm. That combined with this, it's an extra 6,000 copay, but we can now do more than one job, and we can do fragile jobs. The next thing we want to think about here is train length 1. This one is going to get us, for 10,000, we're going to put the copay up again, but this will let us do longer trains, but we don't need that yet. However, there is a trick. Once you get concurrent orders 1, there's another one down here called logistical haul. And if you notice, the prerequisites for this are concurrent 1. This costs $20,000. It does not put your copay up, but what it does do is it resets some of that time bonus deadline. So you notice how on these two jobs, we lost 2% on that one. We didn't lose anything on that one. This one is, for 20,000, going to put our deadline back up by 5%. So I'm going to grab that while we're here. We've got the cash for it. We've cleared our licenses, so we'll grab that extra license as well. We're not using logistical hauls. There are logistical haul jobs available here. That goes down to the harbour in town. Logistical hauls are where you take empty cars usually. It's, you know, something has come here with some cars. It's been unloaded. A logistic haul is take the cars back to the factory where they're going to get loaded again. It's a kind of thing that you can add on to your main job. So, you know, if something was going the right way and we had a concurrent 2, you know, we could perhaps take that on the back of it and do the logistic as part of our main job. They're like a bonus job. The reason I'm taking it is because it puts our deadline back up by 5%. The deadline is the amount of time you get to do the job. Okay, so these are the two jobs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these two things together. We can see that this one's on D20, so we need to grab that first, and then D70. Lucky our locomotive is already in the D yard, so we'll pick that one up first, and we'll pick that one up second. And what I'll then do is I'll make sure, let me just drop that on the floor there, I'll make sure that they're in order in my hotbar. So when I press the 6 key, I'll get that one. I'll press the 7 key, I'll get that one. And this is the order that I want to load them. I want to load this on my train, then this one. Hope that makes sense. Let's go and grab those things. One thing to remember is whenever you reset your licenses, when you pay the fees on the locomotive, it will always, I think, put the handbrake on and it will turn the brake cut lever off. And it's so annoying. You clear your fees and you get the flashing brake pipe. What's going on? You need to put that down. It's a conventional on trains that if the pipe is facing the ground, then pressure is allowed to go to the brakes. If you flick this up, it cuts that out and you can no longer send air from the main reservoir down to the brakes. This comes in more important when we start to deal with more than one locomotive, which we're about to do. Now, the reason I'm going to get more than one locomotive is because if we look at this, this is 240 tons, this is 174 tons, right? So that's a total of about 400 tons. We know that the DE2 can handle 300 up a 2% incline. And I know that the goods factory has a climb up to the steel mill. So I don't think one DE2 is going to handle this too well. So I plan on taking a second one. But here's the kicker. We won't be able to control both of them at the same time. We won't be able to sit in one locomotive and have it control the other one as well. And the reason is we don't have the multiple unit license. We could buy that, but we don't need it just yet. And frankly, I want to show you another way of doing this. So I'm just going to grab D70, D20 and D70. Okay. I'm just going to grab these bits of cargo and then I'll explain what I mean. Right, so that's the train behind me. That's got the cargoes in the correct order. And I've taken the other DE2. I'm just going to attach this to the front of this one here. And then I'll show you when we connect this up. Easy does it. There we go. So, there's a bunch of cables down here. Obviously, we're going to put the chain link on. Let's get that locked in. We're going to put the brake pipe in, and then we're going to open up the stop cocks on that. And then there's a blue cable here that we can't connect yet. Requires the multiple unit license. Effectively, if we have that license, if we operate this locomotive, it will operate that one through that cable, which is extremely useful, as we'll see later in the series. But for now, we'll have to just do it manually. One thing we do need to do, though, is one of these locos needs to have its brake cut out. So we're going to choose this one here. We'll undo its handbrake. That's now cut out. And what we can now do is we can walk between these two. We've got to be a little bit careful on realistic mode because the range isn't very far. But if you go to here, we can just step across there and then jump inside the cab. What that means is we have got two locomotives now, which gives us extra horsepower when we need it. Now, for most of the journey, we're not going to need it. We're just going to basically drive this whole thing from the goods factory. We're going to downhill, then we're going to get to about here, and we're going to jump back and start that second engine. That's going to then give us some extra power to get up to the steel mill. We'll then turn it back off again because it's flat all the way to City West. Once we drop them rear cars off at the back, one locomotive should be able to haul us up to the machine factory. But by bringing the extra locomotive, we've got that extra power to get us up that hill on the steel mill, because one of them isn't enough. Right, front locomotive started. Not start the second one. Let's get these jobs handed in. It's that one and that one. Right, we are now on the clock. Let's get going out of the goods factory and then we'll set our signals on the way. So this one's off and this one's on. So this will accumulate a little bit of damage, like wheel damage and that kind of thing, but until we actually switch it on, it really won't start racking up any fees. And one locomotive's enough to pull this around until we start hitting that hill. Right, so we're moving. So we'll have a look at our first drop is this one, which is going into City West Station, and it needs to drop into C2I. So if we bring up our little map here and have a look at City West. City West is a station, obviously this is the north this way. This is a station where we come in from the south, or rather from the east. If you sort of turn it a little bit, we're going to come in from the east, and that's C. Now in order to get into C, what we actually need to do, we need to go, this is the through line, this goes up to the machine factory. So we need to set our switches through here. So we're going to keep right through there, we're going to keep right again, and then that's a merge, so we don't need to worry about that. We'll then basically draw the train up here and bring it to a stop, and then we'll reverse into C. So when we reverse into C, we'll need to come back through here and keep it right, because that will send us down this line. That's a merge. And then we need to keep it right again to keep into C. And then if we have a look at the C transfer yard, we want, I think it was C2I, that was it. So C2I is this one. So we're coming in from here. This is all a dead end at the back here. So we want to keep left, then we want to keep left again, and then we want to keep right. Now, admittedly, when you first start dealing with these signals, it's a little bit of a messes with your head, let's put it that way. Trying to work out, am I going left, am I going right? But as I said, if you sort of think of yourself as coming along this track, you hit that junction, and then look at the switch. The white line is going to the left, so this will keep us left. The white line's going left again, so it will keep us left. And then as we get to this one, the white line's going to the right, so it will then keep us right into 2I. We will then drop it off. We just back off the throttle a second. We will then drop those rear four cars off, hand the job in, and then we'll be on our way again. That's the current plan. Now, we are currently coming down from the goods factory down this slope here. We're about to hit this junction, and then we want to keep left out of this junction. So one of the things we need to do is just set that. So there's the goods factory line. We want to keep left into the steel mill. We're going to go through the steel mill, and then we're going to keep right at the steel mill triangle. That is going to take us onward to the farm. We're going to go through the farm. We're going to keep right here and go towards City West. Keep right into City West. Let me just slow it down. I know we're not at 60 at the bottom. I think it's more like 50 or 40. So I'm just going to put some brakes on here. There you go, 50. So the switch is going to the left, and the 5 means it's a 5 limit when you're going left, and a 60 limit when you're going to the right. So got the speed under control. Just monitor and manage the speed through here to keep it. Anything up to 60 would be okay, but you know, 50 is the ideal. And remember, the back of the train is still going through that junction, so we just need to make sure we don't remove the brakes too early, and that should be good now. And now we can get some power on again. Now, we're going to have to check a few things on the way. We're going to have to check the steel mill, the farm, and the Orwell Central to make sure that we're going straight through these. So let's start with the steel mill. From the steel mill, we're going to be coming in from this side here. So we want to keep right. Remember, we're coming in here, so we keep right into B. And then we want to go straight through. So come in this direction, we want to keep right, and then keep left. So right, then left will take us straight through here. Then we're going to go to the farm. So the farm is a bit of a weird one. You go through the B yard. So coming in from this direction from the east, there's the north side again. Coming from the east, keep right, go into B. We're going to keep right, then left. Right, then left. Will take us straight through B. Then we go to Orwell Central, which is pretty straightforward. We're going to come in from the east again. We're going to keep left into the B yard. And then same thing, we're going to keep right, then left. That will take us all the way through Orwell Central. That's as much as we need to do now. But given that we're about to approach a hill, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to the back here and just make sure that we start this up so that we can access the power when we need it. I'm going to put the reverser into forward. Remember, there's nothing to help us whatsoever. That locomotive and this locomotive are completely independent. There's no control between them. So I'm applying some power on this rear locomotive now, because we're about to hit a climb. There we go. So obviously you've got to keep your eye on the temperature, which is difficult when you're in the front locomotive. But it shouldn't be too strenuous, this particular one. There we go. It just means that we're going to have to jump to the back when we want to actually slow down and just, you know, get up this climb. Now that one goes into C2I. The machine factory drop, which is our main drop, that's going to C4I. The machine factory is a more complicated yard. We'll have a look at that one in a second. what I want to do is make sure that once we do go through City West and we've made that drop, we're then going to go up this track, keep left, coal power plant, and then into the machine factory. Now the coal power plant's a recent addition, and it's, as you can see, a very complex setup. Looking at this compass here, we're going to come in from the south, that's a merge, and then we just want to keep right. If we keep right, we'll completely bypass the coal power plant. That's all we're going to concern ourselves with for now. That's quite a lot to take in. I'm just going to manage our speed up this climb here, and then we're going to take ourselves straight through the steel mill. Okay, so here comes the incline. Plus 0.6. So we'll jump back into that front car, and we'll just watch what the speed does. Most of the power is being pushed by the rear locomotive at the moment, so we'll just keep our eye on that, and if it starts to drop too much, we'll put some power on this one. Okay, 2.3 gradient, that's quite steep. Okay, right, this is the steel mill, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go back here and just back this power off completely. Leave the engine running for now, just so we've got the option, and just let it free roll into the steel mill. Okay, checking our signalling. We've got right, left. That's going to go straight through on the middle track. Notice the draw distance. This can catch you out. See that? It initially showed there was nothing there. You think, oh, it's an empty yard, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's actually loads of cars, but the draw distance stops it from drawing. So here we are. We're back here. We started here in episode 1. We're going to go straight through. And I'm just going to increase our speed. We can get up to about 50 at this junction coming up. Now, if we've set this correctly, this should be sending us to the right when we get to the end there. You see how it says right? Roughly there where that dot is. That's going to send us off towards the farm. What I'm going to do is jump in the back here, and we'll just turn this engine off now. Just leave it. Put it into neutral. Brakes still cut out. Everything's off. So we're now running again just on the front locomotive. Didn't need both locomotives for a huge amount there. I think it probably could have coped with one, probably, but I didn't want to take the risk of not being able to get up that hill. Okay, so there it is. Always have this thing ready just in case. Make sure it's on switch mode, because there are different modes. Make sure it's on switch mode, because if you need it in a panic, you don't want to be fumbling around trying to get back into switch mode. And that's it. We're just going to sail through the farm, sail through Orwell Central, and then we'll arrive at City West and make our first drop. There we go, straight through. There's a right and a left on the signalling. It takes us straight down the middle track here. So, just in terms of these tracks here, an I and an O, I've already explained in the first episode, an I is an input line. If you've got a freight drop, it will always go to an I input line. That's not true of logistic hauls necessarily, but for a freight drop, it will go to an input line. An output line is where you'll get goods that have been loaded and are ready to go, so they'll always be in an output line. And an S is storage. That's where you're going to find cars that are no longer needed, they're just being stored. Logistic hauls will often draw from a storage yard, and ask you to put them potentially into other storage yards at a different place. That's how the game fundamentally organises things. What that means is if you're thinking about driving through somewhere, let's say you're thinking about driving through the farm, you will never want to send yourself through a storage yard or an output yard, because there's almost always going to be something on it. An input line will always be empty, because you'll be able to, so you could in theory drive through an input line, and you'll often will when you're making a drop there. But if you see a straight through track that's not labelled, that's your best bet. The other option is a loading yard. A loading yard will always be empty as well. That is, of course, unless you left something there, so just be wary of that one. Right, here's Orwell Central, straight through here. Okay, so you can see here there's a sign that says we're sending to the right, but the right turn is 30 limits, so I'm going to have to get the brakes on here. There's quite a sharp corner coming up. We are approaching this part of the track right there. That's sharper than it looks on the map. And it can catch you out, because if you look at it here, it doesn't look that bad, but it is a pretty sharp bend. There you go. Picks up to a 50, but yeah, you got to get the back of it through that first. Now, there is another one that catches you out at City West. We're going to be approaching this shortly, and we're going to keep right through here. This particular turn round here, that's a 30-kilometer limit as well, so we need to go 30 through here, then stop, and then reverse back into C. It's a bit of a deceiving one. This is City West, and you see that you've got 50 signs. You think, oh, I'm fine doing 50, and then straight after it is a sharp 30. If you go that way, it's a 30 limit, so you better be sure that you're not speeding through here. Right, this is the point here where this track merges and then it climbs. This is the point where we actually want to stop and reverse. C yard is actually there, you see it? So we need to reverse down that track into C yard. So we need to try and get the back of this train roughly over that road there. We'll just have to eyeball it for now. I reckon that should more or less do it. Okay, I think we're pretty clear of that now. So we'll stop here, and then if we bring up a little City West, because we've gone through this junction here, what we need to do is basically flip this, because we're now coming back from here, and it's going to take us left, which is going to bring us back that way. We want to go to the right now, you see. So we come here, we go right and right again. That will take us down this track, and then right into C yard. So we can't really see what's going on. But if we trust in our own skills, then it should take us into the input line. And because we know there's going to be nothing on the input line, assuming we set everything up correctly on C, which we did, we went left, right into 2i, we know this will be empty because it's an input line. So as long as we didn't mess up, there won't be a big bang. And there's the back of the train, that blue car. And they are the ones that we're going to be detaching those back four, I believe. There we go, into C yard. Yeah, back four, there's the blue one. 2 greens and the orange. So it's the rear 4 cars we'll be disconnecting. And what should happen now is it will go left a little bit. If I just lean out the window. It should go left into 2i if we got that right. There it goes. Perfect. Okay, so what we're looking for is we only need to make sure those rear 4 cars are in there, so I reckon we can pretty much break there now. And that should be far enough in. Let's have a look. So these 4 here just need to be, there you go. So where it says 2i, that should be okay. Ideally you want it just beyond that, but I'm hopeful that'll be okay. So what I'll do is I'll put the brake car on. And then we'll close that. And hopefully we can go and hand that job in. Okay, it's useful at night. Remember, the little green light shows you where the station yard is. Can be a pain finding things at night, but let's see if we can hand this job in now. Yeah, there we go. So 20,000, 30,000 in total with the bonus. We did it in 22 minutes. When the bonus time was 133, so we had the best part of 2 hours to complete that job. But because we did all that preparation and planning, we did it in a fraction of the time, and that's how we earn good money. Okay, so now we bring ourselves to looking at the machine factory. This is a little bit more of a complex yard, but it's I'll break it down, so we'll get ourselves moving here. We've got an uphill climb, so we need to get some momentum going. It is going dark, which isn't going to make things easier, but we'll be fine. So if I put the cab light on... Oh, it is on. Right, C4I at the machine factory. Let's have a look at the machine factory. We've set our points up to go into the machine factory, and we're going to be approaching from the south, which is the white bit. So we're going to be coming in from here, and we want to go to the sea yard. So we're going to have to keep right to come this way, and then we're going to have to keep left to go into the sea yard. And then, in the sea yard, we want 4i, I think it was. Yeah, 4i. So 4i is here, so we're just going to keep right straight into here. So right, right, right again, into 4i. We'll pull into here, stop, disconnect the cars, and then go and hand the job in. Now, if you look at where the sea yard is, conveniently, it's right next to the actual station. Let's get some more power on while I'm talking. So, if we pull forward here, the station is right next to it. This yard can be a little bit more complex later, but we don't need to worry about that for this episode. We'll just drop it straight into sea, and that will be that. Now, one of the reasons I want to go to the machine factory is because the machine factory contains a piece of equipment in the shop that I really want to get hold of, but we'll save that for the next episode. That on the left is the coal power plant. It looks really cool at night. But it is a bit of a complex yard and definitely not somewhere you want to go initially. The problem with the coal power plant as well is all it really takes is coal as an input. Like, it doesn't really output anything apart from empty cars, so it's not even an ideal place to go as a beginner. However, it has a very good probability of having a museum locomotive that we can find across the map and rescue, but that's for later in the series. We will go there. We'll have to go there, but not yet. It's not a beginning area, really. We just kept right now up towards the machine factory. So effectively, we are just... That was the branch line that we just saw. We're now here. This is a climb up into the machine factory. Machine factory is quite a big area. It contains, as you saw, more than one yard. And it also contains a military yard, which is here. That's a military yard E. And there's this weird system where it has a rail that crosses back over into the E yard. We won't be doing military for a while, though. That's for sure. So here we are, approaching the machine factory at night, and we're making our first right turn. Over there is the service yard. You can see there's multiple locomotives in that service yard. It's massive. It's got at least 2 D6s, maybe even 3 D6s spawned in it, and a DE2. The next locomotive that I want to be operating is either going to be the DM3 or the DH4 when we start needing more power. But here we are, we're keeping left now, so looking at our map, we're now keeping left into the sea yard. And although we've already set our switches up, right turn, right turn, right turn into 4i, it does pay to double check, because honestly, I've played this game for a long time and even I just keep making mistakes now and again. I think I've done it right on the map, but I haven't. As you approach in, just look and double check it's doing what you're expecting. Okay, this is 4i, and over there is the station. There's the green light, so we'll just need to put on the brakes and get us stopped. Lovely. Okay, we can cut the fuel, turn it off. It doesn't matter about the lights. But one thing we do need to do is make sure that we... I've disconnected everything. We can't hand the job in unless they are disconnected with the handbrake on. And then we'll quickly run over. And let's get our job here. And we should earn some nice little bit of cash out of this. There you go, $37,000. Bringing our total up to $121,948. Not bad, eh? Now, if you look at the fees, 2,134 fees on that, and 3,200 on that, but it says your fees remaining are 191. I'm not sure why it says 191. Oh, your remaining copay is... Yeah. Yes, that's correct. So, 5,400 plus that. That's basically what we're going to have to pay all of that, basically. There's no reduction on that. So basically, we may as well carry on and use the locomotives. There's no point getting them repaired yet. The only time we need to is if you want to buy a license, of course. If we want to, say, upgrade to a DAM3 or a DH4 or something like that, we're going to have to clear our fees down. There is a useful one here called manual service. That costs 20,000. It does put the copay up quite a bit by 7,000. But that will allow us to drive the locomotives over to the service yard and get them serviced for half price rather than clear the fees on that screen. That screen there is quite expensive. Anyway, that was fairly successful. It's 10 o'clock at night. In the next episode, we will go to sleep and we'll see what the morning brings. We might want to unload that job there, which has just spawned. See, 20 grand, not bad. But hope you're enjoying the series so far, guys. Please let me know in the comments section. Give me a like if you enjoyed it. Until next time, take care. Happy training.